Alrighty, let's try this again. I did another copy of this and I thought I could do better. Sorry about the microphone being so echoey. I'm not sure what's going on with OBS, but it's making my mic sound very echoey and none of the other programs are emulating that. So, issue we're going to have to work through today. This is a introduction to AI for IT and technology. This is for um, people to give them a little bit more than like fancy spell checkers or document lookups to actually show what you can do with AI for IT. So what I've done is I got Grok, I got ChatGPT, and I got Microsoft Copilot here. Got them all cleared out, but just in case, I'm going to use this shortcut um, notepad to make sure everything gets copy and pasted exactly the same to all of them. So we're not doing any typos or anything that isn't in this notepad. So I'm just going to go clear everything, make sure all three AIs know that we're starting from scratch. Everything's going to be nice and clean. All right. Now, we have uh, a markdown sheet. This is the markdown with my home network devices. Please load it and as we will be working on it. So I'm going to load this markdown sheet, and it's just basically a list of devices in my house so we can ask it some technical questions. So I'm going to paste that here, grab the markdown, and one of the things that I ran into is Copilot doesn't like anything named MD. ChatGPT and Grok handle it just fine. So I went ahead and I duplicated my markdown into a text file, which all three AIs can handle fine. So we're just going to use this for all three. All right, paste that in there. Then I'm going to go over here, do the exact same thing, and add from computer, grab this text file, add that, and then Microsoft upload, same thing. If you know the markdown is missing from here, because Microsoft only likes these. And even if you pick all files, if you upload that markdown, it will reject it. It'll say it's an unknown format. Let's go ahead and put our message there and upload that. So first things first, here is Grok. I've loaded the markdown document. It's comprehensive setup, pretty impressive, blah, blah, blah. How would you like to proceed? Okay, so it's got it. This one is not loaded yet. I did hit enter. All right, your home network device's markdown is loaded. Please let me know what you would like to work on. So that's loaded. All right, and then this guy has said, I got it. I've taken note of your home network devices. Whenever you're ready to dive in. So all three of them have the exact same file that we're working on. Let's go back over here. And we're going to just ask it a generic technical question. So the reason I'm asking it about these cameras is not only should it tell us if the network has enough ports available, but the PoE, the UPS that the switch is plugged into, all these variables that are involved with the cameras. I'm also monitoring these cameras on an NVR and Blue Iris on my desktop. So these integrate quite well in my network. So I want to see what specifics each AI can pick up when we ask it a simple question like, can I add 10 more of these cameras? So let's go to each of them, ask the question, and let's see what they come up with. All right, we're going to start with Grok. Grok is X's AI, and it is here. Let's assess whether or not you can add 10 more cameras. And I'm not going to read through line for line because, as you can see, it gets quite lengthy. I'm just going to skim over and get the important notes out of here. So Grok is always the most verbose. It's the one that gives us the most detail back from my estimation on working with it. And I really like Grok. So if I seem a little bit biased, it's simply because it's given me really good results so far. So it's saying I currently have 17 cameras. The TP-Link has 48 ports, 11 Amcrest cameras, 4 of these Amcrest bullet cameras, and a bunch of the Lorex cameras on here. NVR is Amcrest this. It has a 32 channel. It's basically just spitting out what it knows about my network so far. So it's going to say it's going to bring my total up to 27 cameras. NVR capacity supports 32 channels. You're currently using 17. Adding 10 more, bring it 27, which is within the 32 channel limit. So the NVR can handle it. Bandwidth is supports 2 to 300 megabits bandwidth. MV 5232 NVR is rated 320 megabits. So it looks like as at 30 frames per second, a lot of details here. It might use 4 to 6 megabits per stream. So it gives you the breakdown here. I'm going to be using 162 megabits on average, according to the worst case scenario here. And then that's well within the 2 to 300 megabits range. So the MVR should be good. Storage, as I have 32 terabytes, it's saying that I will get 12 days of storage on there. So this will last me around 2 weeks. And that's all worst case continuous recording. So PoE. So it covered the NVR very well and in depth. It got all aspects of the NVR. So the PoE switch capacity, port availability is saying that I have 34 currently in use, and adding 10 more cameras would use 10 ports, bringing the total up to 44. And you have 14 RJ45 ports free now, so you've got enough ports. The power budget, so it actually goes in the PoE of the switch, what it knows about the switch, and says it's estimated at 205 or 207.5. So 17 cameras is going to be this much power. The PoE wireless receivers, the access points, are 80 watts. Remaining is 384. So I'll still have 176.5 watts before the cameras. Even after that, it'll leave me 101.5 watts to spare. So power-wise, we're good on the switch. Network considerations, switch bandwidth. Obviously, that should be more than enough. Even at 6 megabits each, won't saturate this. IP address, your network IP with subnet is likely to have enough IPs for that. Adding 10 more cameras fits within this range. You've got plenty of unassigned IPs left. Physical and practical limits, cabling. So it goes into, and I really like this, it goes beyond just the electronics. But it goes in, you're going to need 10 more Ethernet cables. And then the UPS, it grabbed the UPS from the markdown and says my model of UPS should very easily handle this. So runtime might decrease slightly during outages, but that's manageable. So far exceeds the 23 amp total draw of whatever. So that's the UPS. It covers all those bases. And it gives you a conclusion of what I just looked through in very much detail. It gives you an overview at the bottom that's really nice. NVR will support it. Switch supports it. Network supports it. Physical feasibility with proper cabling. Recommendations. If you record continuously, consider upgrading your NVR testing. Add cameras incrementally. Monitor that power, double check PoE draw just to make sure it came up right. Let me know if you want to dive deeper. Pretty comprehensive list here on a minimal of information. So we just gave it the hardware, gave it the cameras and the amount that we want to enter, and we were able to come with a very comprehensive list here. So we're going to go over here. This is ChatGPT or GPT, and this is a lot more generic. So if you look, it's not getting in the specific devices and um, switches and things like that as in depth. So it's saying each camera operates at 1 gig, uses PoE. Your has 48, 34 currently in use, meaning 14 remain, enough to accommodate 10 more channels. Same information we got from Grok. Your switches budget is this comes out to that. Adding 10 more cameras will require 75 watts, bring the total piece usage to 205, still within the switches budget. So we got about the same general information without all the details. It's a lot less verbose. Storage considerations, supports 32. Adding 10 more cameras will bring the total up to this. Your Ember has 4 times 8 terabits. Will need to support the extra footage, higher resolution, longer, blah. So it doesn't give you an estimate on how much um, your record time will be. The other one told us about 12 days, and this one doesn't delve into that sort of detail at all. Bandwidth and network traffic, 10 extra cameras coming in with H.265 can add significant network load. Your TP48 switch has enough switching capacity, but make sure the uplinks to your Sedola switch and MVR are not bottlenecking. You may want to offload camera traffic to a separate VLAN to optimize performance. Conclusion, yes, you can. Check your MVR storage, ensure your switch and network, consider VLAN segmentation for better performance, and so on. So it gave you a pretty good overview. Not as much detail, but still very usable information. You don't know how long it's going to last. It didn't give you as much detail on the PoE, and it didn't mention the UPS at all. So the UPS is something that should be looked at, because with adding more power to the switch, it's going to draw more power and would definitely impact your UPS. All right, Microsoft Copilot. This gives us the least information at all. Absolutely. Amcrest, blah, 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 are compatible with your current setup. They support PoE, which simplifies installation, ensures they receive both power and data through a single cable. Has 14 ports available, so you could easily add 10 more cameras. Just make sure you account for the power draw of each camera to ensure you're hit. So it didn't even try to delve into the PoE current utilization or estimate what the utilization would be after the cameras were enabled. So if we were running close to the power draw, this would have led you into adding the cameras and overloading your switch and bringing everything down. And then that's it. It just gave us 2 paragraphs, absolutely bare minimum information, no UPS, no recording capabilities, nothing about the NVR other than, actually, there's nothing about the NVR here. So the NVR should have been included in this for both the storage and capacity. Do I have enough channels available? Can I store? So obviously this is lacking considerably. Let's go back to our little cheat sheet here. And now I'm going to ask, what impact will these have on my desktop? So I'm running a program on my desktop called Blue Iris. And what it does is it does AI motion detection. So it can tell not only there's movement, but it'll try to determine what that movement is. Is it a dog? Is it a car? Is it a person? And that will cause it to send me an email on alerts. So let's go and see if they can figure out from the markdown what impact that will have on my desktop. And it's still in the context we just asked the question, so it should remember the context of where we are. So I ask all 3 of them the exact same question. Once again, we'll start off with Grok because it seems to be the most verbose. And it's still calculating things. So here it goes. Determine the impact of the desktop. Let's break down based on your setup and how your desktop interacts with cameras. Your document indicates it's work used for Blue Iris, so it picked that up right away, which is good. That means I didn't tell it this is a video monitoring. So I just put this is what it's used for. It automatically went out, found out what Blue Iris is, and recognized that it was a video processing application, suggesting that it might be running Blue Iris, a popular surveillance software to manage and monitor your cameras alongside the Amcrest NVR. So it actually recognizes that not only do I have Blue Iris on my system, but I have the Amcrest NVR working alongside of it. So this is the assumptions, Blue Iris usage. I'll assume it's actively involved in camera management, which it is. It made a very good assumption here. Current load is it's saying I have 17 cameras now. Going to add another 10 for 27 total. Network path, and it goes through the entire network path that I have. So my network has a high capacity switch, the Sedola switch, which can go up to 10 gigs per port, and that plugs into my TP-Link, which is a power over Ethernet 1 gig per port switch. And it found that out. So it said, oh, okay, I'm connected to the Sedola switch, which uplinks to the TP-Link switch where the cameras reside via 2.5 gigahertz or gigabit link. Then it says the impact areas, CPU load, and it's going through and it looks at my processor, it's looking at the current usage and adding cameras, what impact that's going to have. And it says 27 equals about 54% CPU usage. If no hardware acceleration is used, so this is indicating that my GPU can be used by Blue Iris and is. So I offload a lot of this processing to the 3080 NVIDIA card that I have in here. So if I don't use hardware acceleration, it could jump 5 to 10% per camera, overloading the CPU. However, your NVIDIA 12 gig can offload decoding via CUDA, keeping the CPU load low. Impact minimal if CUDA is enabled, likely. 10% more CPU total, so I would get a total of 27 to 44%. Without it, significant could push your CPU to 80%, which it isn't doing. But that's, I mean, all great information. And it's saying, well, if it did push to 80%, it would affect my gaming and work performance. GPU load if Blue Iris uses it. So this is going in, not only did it make the assumption that you can use the GPU on this, but it goes into detail underneath saying, well, here's the GPU load if Blue Iris is offloading to this. So it gives my video card that's currently in here, current usage is decoding the 17 streams and then adding 10 cameras, basically drops it down to GPU utilization stays low, less than 10%, unless you're rendering all feeds on screens simultaneously, 17 live views on your 4K monitor. Impact is negligible for gaming and entertainment, unless you max out live views, which could bump up GPU usage to 20 to 30%. Once again, not in a dangerous territory. Incredibly good information to have. RAM usage, we're going to go through the same details in the RAM. I'm going to speed it up a little bit here because we don't need all the details for the video. You get the hint of what it can do here. So it's saying this is what's going to do to your RAM. Here's what's going to happen to your storage. Here's what's going to happen to your network. And it goes into details on every single little thing that it pulled out of there, including multiple switches, the TP-Link, and the Sedola won't bottleneck. Very, very good information here. Then it actually picks up the UPS, and it's the only AI so far that picks up the UPS automatically. We don't have to tell it to check the UPS for usage. So it's saying adding 10 cameras, no direct power on Albert because UPS, since the TP-Link handles that in the data closet. Impact minor. User experience gaming if Blue Iris runs in the background. With CUDA, FPS drop should be less than 5%. So we're talking minimal impact. This looks like it'd be a good upgrade if I decided to move forward with that. Overall impact, this is the consensus again. Minimal. GPU 10 gives you the specs for everything that you can expect to see for this. Recommendations is just going back and saying enable the CUDA, which is already done, and then use substreams lower resolution for live viewing to reduce load, which is already done. So storage offloading, the NAS or the NVR. It's currently all being offloaded to the NVR via 24/7 recording on that. And then the NAS could be used for more if I decided to go above 2 terabytes that I have locally. Monitor performance, the same recommendation that we had before. Just kind of watch it and make sure its assessments were close. This is going to be ChatGPT. This is adding to my desktop, so it's going to go in. It picked up Blue Iris automatically, which is good. So it found out, oh, this is why the load on PC1 would jump up. CPU usage, more video streams require more processing, even with GPU acceleration. So it picked that up as well. Very good. GPU load, if using this, it'll go up. Make sure hardware is enabled to handle extra streams efficiently. RAM usage will consume. See how we're getting very generic answers. So it's like, yeah, this will go up, but they're not giving us estimates, not giving us anything concrete to work with. Mitigation becomes too high, consider. Lowering frame rates. So it's just telling us what to do if we get too much load, but it doesn't give us any expectations on what it thinks will happen. Same thing with the bandwidth. It says the 5 gigabits, but it's not connecting this to the TP-Link. It doesn't indicate the TP-Link here at all. Mitigation if the load gets too high, which on 5 gigabits, the load of those cameras is going to be minuscule. Use direct streaming to NVR. Storage consideration has the 2 local ones. Once again, it's not making any numbers. It's just making base recommendations, generic recommendations. Conclusion, can handle 10 more cameras with proper settings. Be mindful of the CPU, GPU. So very little information. Touched all the same bases, just a lot less details. And then Copilot, this is the last one here, is adding 10 more cameras, network impact, bandwidth utilization, and typically use 2 to 4, depending on the resolution and frame rate. With 10 additional cameras, you can expect 20 to 40, which is fine, but it should have combined these numbers with the current numbers to give us a total instead of just saying, well, it's going to go up 20 to 40 megabits. That would be nice if it told us what is going to go up 20 to 40. Network traffic, increased network traffic might affect other devices connected to the same network switch. Once again, it's not making any guesses on what bandwidth I have going to the desktop. So it's got even less detail than the ChatGPT has. It doesn't even make guesses on any of this. It just says watch your network. CPU and video card usage, video processing. Just says, well, it will use more CPU and GPU. Manage the extra video streams. Are powerful enough to handle the extra load, but you might notice an increase in resource usage. So there's no numbers here at all for you to go by. It doesn't say how much more might. It's using very generic terms. Performance monitoring, just watch the performance. Storage impact, once again, no numbers. Just tells you, oh, you may want to watch your local disks. you might need to manage your storage settings and archive older footage and such. And then power consumption. So it did include the UPS, which is good, but it doesn't say any numbers. Am I close? Based on my current desktop specs, am I close to the CPU utilization or not? Nothing about it, just telling you check your UPS. Overall, your powerful desktop setup should be capable of handling the additional cameras. So very generic, but okay, we'll work with that. At least it touched most of the bases. Then here is a problem that I was having with a server in the data closet. But because of the resolution from this, I decided to move the UPS I had in the data closet, which used um, simulated sine AC, and go with one that had actual sine AC on it, because the AI was able to determine that that might be the cause of this rebooting that I was having. So based on that, I replaced the UPS. Sure enough, that took care of the problem. This was an obscure enough problem that I probably wouldn't have tracked it down for quite a while. I would have been very frustrated for at least a week or so with this device rebooting and not realizing that everything else plugged into my UPS was working perfectly, and this one thing just didn't like that simulated sign that it was using. So that really helped me a lot of frustration, enough so that I wanted to include that in this description to the AI. So we're going to give this question. I'm going to read through this question so we understand it. My desktop is rebooting randomly. If I move it to the dining room, it is stable. The only things that change are the power and network cables. So I'm giving it minimal information here. And the reason this is important is I moved the UPS from my data closet where it was causing problems, and I put it in my office because it's still a very good UPS, and the power supply on my desktop doesn't seem to be as susceptible to these as the one in the closet was. So I'm just rearranged this a little bit to let it know that it's now in my office and the server is having problems in my office with it. So let's give this question to all three of them and see what they do with it in the markdown list that we have and the information they have on my thing. I'm going to start with Grok again. Once again, we're starting with a plethora of information here. Might be too much for some people, but I really like the attention to detail that it does here. And it goes into detail just outlining what the problem is, so you can read through this and make sure it has a good grasp on what's happening. So here we go. Your desktop is randomly rebooting in the office, but stabilizes when moved to the dining room with only the power and network cables changing. Strongly suggests the issue is tied to either power delivery or network connection in the office. Let's troubleshoot based on your setup from the documents and the symptoms. So it's going over the setup of my desktop, which is correct. Possible causes and analysis. Power-related issues is the most likely. And it tiers everything that it recommends from the highest likelihood to the least likelihood. And this turned out to be my problem right here, is this simulated sine wave output was conflicting with my power supply. Changing it to a true sine wave output resolved the problem in my data closet. And it goes over the details of why this is happening. This is a very obscure issue, and the fact that it picked it up right away and put it up at the highest likelihood is really impressive. It saved me a lot of times. And then it goes into details why it's recommending this. And it even gives you a test. If you bypass a UPS and plug it directly in the wall, see if it keeps rebooting. If it doesn't, then it's your UPS, which is exactly what solved the problem. The UPS load capacity is the second thing. Total draw could be 500 to 750. My total draw when I've got it stressed is about 650. which is pretty much in the middle of its estimate there, which I once again am pretty impressed by. So this is closer exceeding 80% of capacity, recommended for max longevity. So we're right in, it's hitting the nail on the head. And we're going to skip over most of this other stuff because we already know what the problem is. It's not the office outlet. It's not the power cable. It's network related issues. We know it's not that, but the fact that it's hitting on this and saying we're going to go through this step by step to help you troubleshoot means that it's not leaving a stone unturned. You don't have to keep coming back and asking it questions. This document is providing you all the information you need for a very comprehensive troubleshooting. The last thing that it picked up on, very good catch, is temperature. It might have poor ventilation in the office, whereas it doesn't in the dining room. This turned out not to be the problem. This is my first suspect here. I thought it was overheating in that closet, and turned out that wasn't it. And then dust and things like that would help uh, exacerbate the temperature issue. And then software hardware fault, unlikely given the location dependency. So it still mentions it, but it tells you this is unlikely. Then it gives you a full set of troubleshooting and then likely outcome. Best guess to cyber power. Simulated sine wave or overload is causing PSU instability. So that did a very good job. Now we're going to go over here, take a look at what ChatGPT has. Keep stumbling over the P and the T. So here's the question. Your random reboots in the office, but stability in the dining room suggest issues with either power, electrical, or UPS related network. So same thing, but much more concise. Very little details. Just bullet point 1, 2, go. Power issues most likely cause. So here, it doesn't talk about the simulated sign at all. So it does say your cyber power in the office may be faulty or overloaded. Try plugging into a wall, bypassing the BP. This would have solved it. I would have bought a new UPS to rectify this, and it would have corrected the issue, but I would not have known that the simulated sign was the issue, and I could reutilize that in my office, giving me UPS in my office for free. So the fix, buy a new surge protector or UPS, check the UPS is beeping, blah, blah, blah. A dirty or fluctuating power into the office. This is supposed to be corrected by the UPS, and I got a fairly good UPS, so I don't think this should have been recommended or been put up very high on the list of possibilities. Use a multimeter, and then network issues, less likely but possible. So it's still touched on these. Once again, if you notice, it didn't touch on environmental, that the office may be hotter and overheating would have been an issue. So it would have missed that problem entirely, which was my highest suspect. So it's telling me just bypass the UPS, try a different office outlet, swap the Ethernet cable, check the router logs for IP conflicts. So I've never seen an IP conflict cause a reboot. Not sure why they would recommend a IP conflict for a rebooting server. But yeah, whatever. So that was ChatGPT. And then let's go over and see what Copilot has. Okay, it sounds like this issue might be related to either the power or network cables. So it picked up on that, was the only changes. Power cable, check the power outlet, ensure the power outlet in your office, inspect the power cable, power strip, or UPS. So it completely missed that I have a UPS in there. Oh, no, wait. It did catch it here. Sorry, my bad. If you're using power strip, so it's asking if I am using a power strip or UPS. So it didn't pick up the correlation between the desktop being plugged in to this UPS or the make, the model, any details at all that would have indicated that it would have been a simulated sine wave issue that rather than just a bad UPS. Then we're going to go network cable, additional steps. So it did grab the temperature, which ChatGPT did not, but it gave the least details at all. So you can see this is the total of its recommendations in troubleshooting. I don't think that it actually gives you troubleshooting steps or anything like that. It just says check these different things, but not any kind of detail in any of that. Whereas this one gave you quite a bit more detail than that. So let's go down here. This is it. So here you got probably, oh, sorry, I went down up too high. I don't know why it went up that high. All right, so here's the detail on this. It looks like it gave us twice the detail that Copilot did. And then if you go to Grok, this has got to be 4 times, 5 times the detail of Copilot and at least double the detail of GPT. And this gave you the most comprehensive troubleshooting, diagnostics as far as the interconnectivity of all the equipment in my office, things like that. All right, so for the last test that I want to do here, and I know you guys have been here a while, but one of the best things about AI is it can take a lot of the tedium out of your day-to-day processes. So if somebody's asking for an inventory report or they want a comprehensive list of all the devices in X area or Y area, creating that list is usually going to be a very basic thing on a spreadsheet with not much pizzazz in it and very dry read. Wouldn't it be nice if you could give them a nice web page with a little bit of flair in there? So what we're going to do here is I want to make I want a web page based on this markdown with all devices and details represented. I want it to be dark mode with a table of contents and links at the bottom of each section back to top. Make it technical, professional, and impressive, effects and such. So I'm using a little bit of natural language here to see if it picks up on the nuances of what I'm looking for, like special effects, something to give it a little bit of pop. So we're going to take this, we're going to copy this to all 3 guys and see what they do. First, we're going to go over to Grok, tell it, then we're going to go over to ChatGPT, tell it, and then we're going to go over here to Copilot and tell it. Now I'm going to give a little bit of a spoiler to help save time. Copilot has a history of truncating everything. So I've got a very complex network here for a home network. And the web page that it provides is very short. And we'll get into the details once we look at the web page. But it's going to be missing a lot of information back from this. The chat GPT is showing you the web page here. It's usually better at it, but not as comprehensive either. It seems to truncate quite a bit of the information. Like it doesn't understand what I want to pull out of that report, even though I told it that I want everything that it can get out of that report represented. Then on the chat or the Grok, I went ahead and I used and as you can see, it's quite a bit more extensive here. So I wanted a web page. Notice how I said web page and not HTML. I wanted to give it the freedom to give me any and all options to accomplish what I want here. And so it decided to go with an HTML, CSS, JavaScript solution, which is 3 pages, but it gives us a lot more options for those effects and things like that. Then here's the HTML. So I'm just going to copy this, go back over here, and this one is my ChatGPT. So I just going to overwrite all of this and put in this. Then I'm going to go File, Save, Styles. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Copy this. Go back to my notepad. This is the Styles page. Control A, Control V. and then save that. I don't remember if I saved this. I'm going to save it again just in case. And then we're going to go to that JavaScript that it provided on the bottom. Copy this. Go back here. This is the script. Control A, Control V, File, Save. And then this is the ChatGPT. So I'm going to copy that. Go back here. Control A, Control V. And then this is the Copilot. All right, we got all of that. Copy that and put it in Copilot. And file, save. All right, so now I'm going to bring these up. And let me see here. Go desktop. Temp, AI stuffs, ChatGPT. Let's minimize that. Oh, AI stuff, so I'm going to go to Grok first. Open that up. All right, so this is the Grok one. You can see they got this little neon thing looking here. Table of contents, and it's missing quite a bit of stuff here. So if you look, it followed through, and if we go and we read, and the back to top isn't working. So it's got a couple of minor issues, but I got a pretty good layout and some details. So let's go over to ChatGPT and look at that. So this is ChatGPT. Put the table of contents on the right. It put in so few details that I can't really use the links, see if they're working. They look like they are working, but not really a lot of pizzazz or pop in this. It's just kind of generic looking. I do like the colors that it added to give it a little bit of a breakup of the monotones, but pretty basic. And then let's go to Copilot and see what it has. And this is Copilot. But now this added some color. This jumps out at you. It's got the table of contents, but I want you to notice something, and I've run into this constantly with Copilot. If you see the table of contents has everything listed that I wanted from all of them, but there's no content here. It cut off short. So it only got the first two items, and then it gave up on everything else. So let's go back and read through what their response was, and we'll find out what they have to say for themselves. So it says create the files, put all three files in the same directory, copy this section, paste the retrospective table markdown, blah, blah, blah. So what it's saying is it didn't do everything. So it's saying copy the section pattern from desktop PC or network hardware for other sections. And it knows that there's other sections, but it didn't do all the sections here. It just gave me an outline to work with instead of doing all the work itself. Now, if I wanted to do all the work myself, I wouldn't be using AI. So I'm going to push back on that. But at least it's saying why it didn't do everything. So does it give us any more explanation? So here we go. Here's a complete HTML JavaScript. To do this, detailed back to top links, professional edge. Okay, so here's the explanation right here. Is due to the length of your markdown, I'll provide the full code framework with a subset of data as an example. You can expand on it by copying the pattern for other sections from your markdown. So it knows all the stuff's there. It's just being lazy. Even though I told it to give everything, all devices and details, it decided it's just going to give me an outline and make me do the work, which is counterproductive for this exercise. Okay, let's see what this has to say. I've created the foundation for your web page with dark mode theme, but more animations, better responsive, more detailed sections from your markdown. So it's saying the same thing. It just did the um, foundation, but it's not going to do the whole thing. As you can see from here, it just did 4 sections. At least here, all 4 sections are represented in the web page. Now, if we go to Copilot, certainly here's a draft. The draft provides a clean, dark mode interface for your home network devices. Each section includes this. Feel free to customize further or let me know if you need additional tweaks or features. So all 3 of them did not represent the entire content. So I'm going to give it one more try. We're going to draft up a question here to tell it that we want all items. All right, this looks good, but is missing quite a few items and details. Please add all items and details to the web page. I'm going to copy this, paste it in there, and see what we get out of this. I'm going to start with Grok. All right, well, that's working on that. I'm going to put it over here. And then same with Copilot. All right, let's see what it's got. It's working. And this line does it in a unique way. It's actually showing the line as it's making changes. It's kind of fun to watch. You see things like jump in as it adds more stuff. All right, so now it says it's included all devices and details from your markdown. Let me know if you need any refinements. So we've got a conclusive indication that it has all devices and details from your markdown. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put that in our web page. Let's see here. This is Copilot. This is ChatGPT. I'll copy all that and paste that. File save. Now we're going to go look at this. So it made it bigger. Not sure why the table of contents got bigger. It did add a couple of more devices, but it's still missing well over half of the equipment in here. So it's really truncated. It's missing quite a bit of the context. If you could grab the web page, grab these as templates, you can manually add it in yourself. Once again, why would we be using AI if we wanted to do all the manual labor ourselves? Let's see what Copilot got us. So this is typical of Copilot. Once you tell it to do so much, it's trying to update that, but it gets stuck. And it will stay stuck here forever. And I've done this many, many times. It always gets stuck halfway through the page. And it'll never complete the page. Let's go to Grok. Looks like it might be done. Nope, still working. And we'll keep an eye on Copilot. So it is at secondary desktop PC, which is really the second device on the markdown. So it's only made it 2 devices in. Let's see what we got here. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 sections, which is what it's supposed to have. So it has 11 sections, but if you look at the output from ChatGPT, it only came out with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sections. So it's missing 4 sections. And then Grok is still working. Hope it's still working. Come on, buddy. All right, and Copilot is still stuck on secondary desktop. Is Grok stuck too? That's a lot of information it put in there. We'll give it a minute. Copilot 2, we're going to give it a minute. And this is the only one that completed all the way. And let me paste this in there again. Just give it a second shot, swipe at this. So we're going to go copy, paste, tell it to look at it again. Hopefully we can get usable data from here. This one's still stuck there. This one went forward. It's now at thermostat upstairs. Okay. So it says it added all the missing items, including security devices, entertainment systems. Okay, let's check this again. Sounds promising. This one here. Oh, I got some more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's still missing 2. And this only goes down to, what am I missing here? So we got desktop 1, secondary, oh, see. So put in secondary desktop 2, but that's not here anymore. That's missing. So just to make sure, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to copy this. Go over here. Control A. I'm going to delete that just so you can see it's blank. Put in their code. File. Save. Let's take a look again. Same thing. So it's missing my secondary desktop, work laptop. It did get the server. It's missing the NAS, network hardware, home automation, jumps down to security cameras and entertainment devices, and it's missing future and environmental. So it's still missing 2 items, and it, for some reason, decided to skip items in the middle. So we're going to leave that. Copilot still there. Are you... Let's learn how to spell. Are you stuck? And I'm going to do the exact same thing here. Are you stuck? All right, so it's trying again. And are you stuck? Not stuck, just ran out of space mid-response. I've gotten through most of it up to home automation. Then the reply truncated. Let me finish this properly. Since the full HTML is too long for 1 minute, one message, I'll split it into parts. I'll provide, oh, so it ran into a limitation on its HTML export. So it's actually completing from this. So it found, let's see, it didn't finish. Oh, I see what it did. So it's starting from here. So I'm going to grab everything here and up. Oh, come on. Ah, he's right. That was freaking big. Too far. Come back here. All right, just want to make sure I've only got one block. Holy moly. I can see why they ran into a limit. All right, copy, go back to his HTML. This is this one. Control A, Control V. Then let's go to the second part here. Copy, go back to this. Here, go V. All right, let's save this. Take the first part, replace the truncated part, append to the above, verify the table of contents. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got here now. So now we got our table of contents. Albert 1, secondary desktop. Let's go back to top. No, back to tops don't work. Let's go work laptop. So it looks like we have all the information here now. So it did get it on the third try. Second try, it ran out of buffer space. But this is definitely looking good. None of the back to tops are working. That's just a minor thing. Kind of like how it pops, but it's not too fancy. So this is the physical infrastructure and the future use. So now I have a complete list of everything. The only issue I see on this at this point in the cursory overview is the back to top links aren't working. Let's see what it has to say about that. Oops. Looks great, but the back to top links aren't working. We're done with this. And then this is stuck again. So it's probably running into the same issues that Grok was running into, but Grok was able to resolve it and break this up into different chat windows, whereas Copilot just gets stuck here and doesn't fix itself. I'm going to end the video here. We've gone quite a long time. We're at almost an hour. I don't want to run past an hour. It's just too dry. So as a quick overview, Grok seems to do the best overall. Still has issues that you have to work through. You can't get a complete novice in here to create all this. But if you got the patience and everything, you could come out with some very impressive stuff. If your boss asks you for all of the equipment in this area and you sent him back this, I'm thinking he's going to be pretty friggin' satisfied, not only with the content and the detail, but the presentation. This is very easy to read. Once we could correct the back to top links, then they're going to be much easier to navigate as well, because you'll just be able to jump back and forth to where you want to go. Like that. So if I want to see entertainment, okay, I'm done with that. Back to top. Smart TV, okay, got that. Back to top. So on and so forth. ChatGPT tried, but failed miserably. I mean, it got the table of contents, missing content in the middle of the page. You're going to have to work much harder to get this complete. And then the Copilot had a nice look to it, had a nice feel. Can't tell if these are working simply because they didn't give us any content. And when you told it to give it more content, completely froze and get stuck, and it's still stuck there. It'll never get past here. All right, guys, thanks for your time. As always, please leave comments to tell me how I could have done better, worse, indifferent. I'm sorry it ran so long and dry, but I wanted to make sure this was real time so you could see this. Nothing was changed, edited, added, deleted. This is exactly a real session, working session with this using real problems on real environment. Thanks.